Drinks with the leaders, come on everyone. Drinks with the leaders, it's time to have fun. Business people, lots of ideas. You need some advice, come right here. Drinks with leaders is here.
Hi.
Oh, yes, I love that intro.
What is going on here today? How are you?
Doing wonderful after that music from Devin. That was pretty good.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think people are just jumping on. Please, if you watch the show today, comment because it's me and Scott by ourselves. We're doing what we call a throwback episode. So I have some numbers to go over, but I want to know who's here. So if you jump on, let us know if you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, who you are, how many shows you've seen. Is this your first show or is this 4 years in? So Scott, this is a really big deal today. Are you ready?
This show number 600. Well, I don't know how many.
Well, first of all, we just do a weekly show, not a daily show. So to be
Oh,
I will help you with the math. But here's where we are. We are on April 21st. April 21st of 2020 was our first show. So in just a few days, we're going to hit our 4-year anniversary. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that there's a thing called a pandemic.
There was a thing called a pandemic. The Business Journal wrote an article about us. So we decided to talk on the phone like we were friends. And we were kind of friends, but not like we are anymore. Not like we are today, I guess, not anymore. And so we decided, let's do this live show. And 4 years later, we're still doing it. Can you believe that?
All credit goes to Aaron Fulk. It was your idea, and it was a brilliant, brilliant idea. And thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Well, I know a lot of people actually hit you up to do shows and you went with me. So I appreciate that. Look, Paul is here. He's saying watching. Oh, I should have just done a montage of Paul's jokes. In hindsight, we'll do that year 8. How about that? If he can do it.
Yeah, I think that'd be so cool to just have Paul on and just play his comments.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, in the past 4 years, we have had, here's some numbers, guys, 700 plus guests.
Wow.
700 guests. We have had 5 co-hosts. We have had 200 plus shows.
How'd you find all this that quickly, Aaron? How hard have you been working? I know Bestway International has to be so thankful for this 3 hours of prep you put into this show.
Well, I thought that today what would be really fun is to pull up some of the best memories of the show. And then I kind of want to talk to them. There's going to be some uncomfortable moments in this show today. And there's going to be some tearjerker moments in this show today. Are you excited?
I did not bring a Kleenex, but you know what? We'll use our sense of humor. We'll be fine. Paul made some jokes.
With that said, we have 30 minutes, so I hope I can squeeze it all in because I have a great agenda here, but it's 2 pages. So if you are watching and you just jumped on, please let us know we're not talking to ourselves. And let us know if you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. We both have come really far in the past 4 years. You got a puppy. We both went through you went through a major illness.
I had a child.
You had a child, a whole child and a puppy, actually.
Yeah.
How old are your kids now?
Yeah, it's crazy how much people are born and everything that comes along. People were alive, so it's all good.
You had a major illness. I had a major injury. And we have gone through a lot in the past 4 years, and so have a lot of our guests. So I thought we would highlight today and just see where we're not necessarily doing a where are they now, but we'll talk about a little bit of it. But I want to get started because I did pull a lot of clips and I'm trying to fit them in. So if you're jumping on, watching, comment. If you see somebody on here, tag them so they know we re-highlighted them. So, all right, here's the thing. Very first things first, we decided to call this, if you remember, we were trying to come up with a name and I said, let's call it Drinks with CEOs. And a couple days before the show started, you called and you said, actually, why don't we change it to leaders, which is probably the best thing that's ever happened to the show, because we couldn't have had 700 plus guests if we only called it CEOs. And so, because although I am touted as the branding expert, you came up with the best branding switch there. We called it Drinks with Leaders, and you booked our very first 4 guests. Do you remember this?
Yes. And I was going to say, I brought you flowers in the hospital and you brought me a home cooked meal at my house.
But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
I know. I just wanted to say it.
Yes, that was very nice of us to do for each other. But 2 years before that, before either one of us got injured or sick, we had our very first show. So we often make fun of the music we now use for intros. But I want you to watch how bad we were on episode 1. Are you ready? I'm going to play the clip of our very, very first show. All right, here we go. Everybody tag the people on the show because they were so kind to say that they would come on. And here we go.
Ready? You got your music ready?
Oh, God.
Yeah, let's go. That's me in the bathroom.
All right, play the music.
Here we go.
Miss Courtney Thomas.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Courtney. Who's
Playing listening to music to jam out here.
Courtney, do you want to tell everybody who you are and where you come from?
Hi there. I am Courtney Thomas, and I am the president and CEO of New House, which is one of the domestic violence shelters here in Kansas City. I'm originally from North Carolina, but I've lost my accent at this point. Been here in Kansas City for 17 years, and so glad to be joining you all today.
We're excited for you. Our next guest is Miss Tony Ann Richard.
Woo!
Hi, everyone. I'm Tony Ann. I'm from Central Kansas and went to Baker University, which is what took me to Kansas City. And I'm the CEO of the Healthcare Collaborative of Rural Missouri. We're a safety net, social service integration program for rural communities.
And our next guest is Miss, well, why don't you introduce Jennifer? I don't know how to say her last name.
Deanne. Whoa, look at that picture.
Nice to join everybody. Yeah, that name can be a little confusing from time to time, but I've been called worse things. Don't you ever worry about that. I am a Kansas City native. I was actually born and raised in Overland Park, so I'm an OG. I moved away after college graduation to Dallas, Texas, and to the Eastern Shore of Maryland, but ultimately knew that Kansas City was home. So glad to be home. I've been back here for about 25 years, and I am an owner and president of Velocity Staff, which is an IT staffing company here in Kansas City.
And our final, what do they say, last but not least? Our final guest, Miss Brandy Birch.
That's so embarrassing.
Yes, you leave the Johns County white frat guy to the music. That's what you get a whoop. There it is.
Listen, first of all, we both had glow ups, which impresses me a lot, but we didn't know what we were doing. So thank you so much to those 4 amazing women for saying yes to something they had no idea they were saying yes to, because we clearly did not know what we were doing.
So Tony Ann actually the best blow up of anyone. She's lost, I think, like close to 100 pounds.
Oh, wow. We got to have her back on.
And she's doubled the size of people she serves in the state of Missouri in helping them with their mental health.
That is amazing. Yes. I mean, everyone on that call has been continuing to do awesome things. So, or on that show, I guess. It didn't matter that we didn't know what we were doing. We decided to swing for the fences when we were asking people to be on this show. So one of our guests during 2020 was none other than Mary.
For your credibility because of your age. And how did you fight for it?
Yeah, that's interesting. Probably when I first joined the city council, I was the youngest city councilman by a month, but still youngest. And, I think there are a lot of people that really don't think you know anything. And so the way that I did it was actually, it's not, people sometimes make the mistake of thinking that it's intellect or something that will make up for youth. And we've all met those, like the smarmy 25-year-old, like, dude, calm down, right? Nobody actually needs to know that you're really smart because we assume that you got there for a reason. What I did was more study on like the old Politico stories, right? Like, oh yeah, when Mayor Dick Berkeley in 1981 was hanging out at this place and then this thing happened. People like that. People like that fact that you're listening. And so I tried to do more of that. I tried not to do the, I've studied harder than anybody else. Like that, who cares, right? Instead, I've tried to always show some interest in understanding where people are.
I mean, we swung for the fences, and why were people telling us yes, they would come on this very, very new show? That was very under.
That is mind blowing. I think like the look in your eyes and my eyes. I don't even know if we like slept. I don't know what was going on in the pandemic, but I can't believe
We were drinking on those first few episodes, and I don't know why we're asking hard-hitting questions like we just asked the mayor, Lucas. But not only did we ask the new mayor hard-hitting questions, we decided to give the former mayor a platform to become a comedian. So I wanted to pull this clip real quick.
Ask me, are you going to ask me how, as at the ripe old age of 68, I've managed to figure out how to turn the computer on? Very easy. I had my 27-year-old daughter show me.
We were nailing it with our guests in 2020, and we've just continued to get great guests and stuff like that. You were doing your interviews from the bathroom.
That was the bathroom between a child and everyone was trying to get in. So you had to have double doors so they couldn't pop in when you're interviewing the mayor.
We then got a little bit past COVID, but that still seems to be all anybody was talking about. And when I was going through some of these clips, that's all we were talking about. So I wanted to pull a couple of where we talked. I think that we added a lot of value, and we made people feel like, okay, wait, I'm still kind of going through this and focused on that too. So I wanted to play a few clips of how we were talking about post-COVID. So back then, Bank of Blue Valley was our first sponsor, and this was someone that worked with Bank of Blue Valley back then, Shanae, and her talking about how Bank of Blue Valley handled COVID. And I learned a lot of small business about banking here.
During the early PPP days, having the conversations with business organizations about who is your banker. Don't just reach out to the branch and see where you can get. Who is your banker? And that's something you should know, and they should be a part of your strategy, and have that kind of be your leading base throughout and from the beginning. From the moment you first start your bank account, it shouldn't be, okay, I just have a number here. No, they should be a part of your growth pattern. They should be a part of your strategic plan.
I thought that was pretty awesome. We represented a lot of communities, which I thought was cool. One of the communities I still wish we could start to represent more, so any and all referrals, is the Hispanic community. But we talked about that a little, and we were super authentic and true about we'd like to have more Hispanic-owned businesses on here.
Was Chicana and a COVID, had no idea how to be a business person for profit, and I still don't. But I was in Strawberry Swing, and I made money, and I had a support from my amazing cousin, Ramona Ferris, who helped me get there. And, you can do it. You can do it.
So I thought that was cool. And then somebody that's also she's blown up in her career, talked about what she did, which actually I thought was really cool. So Miss Jessica Blubaugh, all the things she did during COVID, as the executive director at Then Win, and then she has now switched jobs, and she has made a huge impact on the city. And this is a little bit about her talking about what she did when their entire camp shut down. COVID shut down everything that they had planned. This was a really impactful conversation.
I mean, I think, I tried to use 2020 as an opportunity to connect with a whole lot of people once we were able to do so in person and Zoom. And I feel like that was a win for me. Like, I got deeper connections with people like you, Aaron, and people like the Centurions colleagues that I have, and just an opportunity to really, I think, stop and reflect on how important those relationships and connections are. Because in a time I felt so disconnected from so many things. It felt really like a huge win to be able to sort of reprioritize and reevaluate how important people are in our lives.
Yeah, pretty awesome, right?
She's amazing.
She's such a badass. I'm like, yeah. I still fangirl her every day. So one of the funny things when we were planning this show, Scott, or not funny, but I guess serendipitous things that I loved is that I was really involved in that small business community, and you were very much involved in that big corporation business community. And this was a way of kind of bringing both together. Who's one of your favorite small business people that you met on this show?
You're gonna what? She's one of my favorite person. T-shirts by IKEA.
Mark.
Yeah, Debbie. Well, she always changes what she goes by, but yeah, Deborah O'Rourke. She's my favorite.
She goes by Debbie or Deborah, I think. Yeah, she goes by both. I've just always called her Deborah. And I really love George from Union Station that I met through you. We've had some amazing small businesses and CEOs on. So I wanted to highlight just a small business and a major CEO and kind of where they've come through this whole time. So let's do this really fast. This show that I'm about to play was actually, this is the one time we were super organized and did really well. We only did this one in the past 4 years. Maybe we'll do it this year again. But all the businesses were small businesses that we had on right before Small Business Saturday. And so we had 4 small businesses on. This was probably the smallest business, the clip of the woman I'm going to play. But I know she got a ton of business from appearing on here.
I'm a born and raised native of Kansas City, Missouri. And
I did not start the clip.
my name is Denisha Jones. I am the owner of Sweet Peaches Cobblers. And I have been in Kansas City my whole life. I am a born and raised native of Kansas City, Missouri. And our product is a frozen, ready-to-bake peach cobbler that is sold right here in the metropolitan area, around in different grocery store chains, Hy-Vee, Sunfresh, Price Shoppers. We do wholesale as well. We're in a couple of restaurants. And we're just trying to go big and go global so we can represent our show me state.
Peach Cobblers.
So I didn't know her name because we had her on there, but I bought her product. I look for it in stores. I mean, that was timing. That was right before they blew up.
Right.
Right before the holidays.
Right before the holidays, yeah. And I've heard nothing but amazing things about her peach cobblers. What I thought was interesting is we started doing 4 guests early on. And then we got a sponsor. First, we got Bank Blue Valley, and then Burns & McDonnell. And then this year, we're doing Bestway International. And we've been very blessed to have some amazing sponsors. But one of the conversations with our sponsors is we decided to do a CEO-only show, which fell for 2 years on the first Tuesday of every month. So Scott really worked within his network to book different CEOs for those Tuesdays. And we made that our original half-an-hour show. Now it's a half-an-hour show. But we've had some insane CEOs on. I went ahead and pulled this one because this may be one of the most successful CEOs we've ever had on this show, but definitely even just in Kansas City. Just because the pure trajectory of all of his businesses during COVID, watching this man already have sold businesses and then double down on business during COVID, I think was really inspiring to a lot of people. He had another buyout of a business during COVID. He bought out a business and invested in quite a few businesses during COVID. And I went and looked for this clip because I remembered what he said about how people handle times that are a little bit difficult, like COVID, right? How we were having a conversation about 2008 and the industry he was in 2008, and then how you handle COVID. So I thought we would play this clip because I remember it as one of our most inspiring clips. You ready?
Yes.
I think it comes down to understanding what your business service is and how that downturn is going to affect you, right? So, the thing is, any kind of downturn, there are winners and losers, right? You mentioned being in the property management space. Imagine being the people that had to clean up foreclosed houses. Like, they were crazy busy, right? Like, there's always winners and losers. And even with COVID, anybody who made any kind of games that you would use at home or fitness equipment, all sorts of different things. There were all sorts of industries that took off like crazy booms during COVID because of that. But I also had invested in a company that provided labor for like events, like trade shows and stuff. Of course, that was dead, like went literally to zero, right? So there were definitely winners and losers. And in some people, you don't necessarily know, are you going to be a winner or are you going to be a loser? You just have to kind of figure out like, oh, do we reposition what we do now? Do we, change the story and the message a little bit? Do we tweak the product a little bit? How do we survive this thing? Or some of them, like if you're in the event spacing thing, maybe you're just dead, or you're like, hey, maybe our people can help you do COVID testing now. And we provide people for that, right? Like, how do you pivot to do that?
I believe that man is one of the smartest men I've ever met.
You took it from me. I was going to be like, Aaron, I know you're really good friends with Nat, but I always love how much you adore him, as he should. He's a really sweet, very, very successful person. You love him.
He's just one of those stories that, everything he did was because he figured it out. He came from nothing. He will post randomly a picture of him in his Walmart vest, right? When he was getting his first job, which allowed him to then work on his side hustle, which turned into Vin Solutions. And he just did some really amazing stuff. So to watch him continue to grow and soar has been super fun. And I think that he's always open to mentoring and giving advice to smaller businesses.
It's pretty impressive. I thought you were going to play another clip, but I should have known that now.
What clip did you think I was going to play?
I don't know, because I don't want to spoil it if you're going to play something else. Who's your second favorite person?
I don't know if I can even number them, but
it starts with a P and ends with an eater.
Oh, Peter?
Yeah.
Peter Maluk is definitely one of my favorites. What's funny to me is Peter Maluk sits on such a high bar that to have him on the show was just so insane. That with Peter, I just will always look up to him as someone I like, just goals. Like I will always see him as a mentor. With Matt, I can kind of sometimes see myself in his shoes. Like maybe if I make the right decisions, right? So I look at them as two different types of mentors for me.
Yeah, if you and I were to have a mutual crush, it'd be Peter Maluk.
Fine, everybody tag him right now. I can't wait.
Interesting, even though we don't play for those teams, you'd be.
I can tell you a 2-second Maluk story. So my grandma is friends with the Maluks randomly now. And Veronica, my grandma, saw each other recently. And Veronica, Peter Maluk is a billionaire. The Maluks are billionaires. Veronica handed my grandma, 2 coupons that allow you to get a certain percentage off at Sonic so many times and said, make sure you give one to Aaron. And I was like, I love that they're saving money at Sonic. That is such a normal person thing to do. And my grandma brought me my Sonic coupon. She was like, this is from the Maluks.
They are the most amazing family in Kansas City.
I love them. Okay, so now I want to talk about this 4 years has been amazing, but we've seen a lot of people make some amazing goals. And we've seen with that, I'd say for every 100 stories we've got to see, there's some that don't turn out as good, right? And so I want to play a clip, and I really want to focus on the win on this clip. I almost didn't focus on the win on this clip because I almost didn't want to play this clip, and you'll understand why in a second. But I think that the heart of the show has always been transparency and authenticity, right? And so the cool part of this clip that I'm about to play is that we met this business when I was asked to mentor them through the Porterhouse cohort. I was asked to mentor a small business. And at this point, this woman is talking about their goals for the future. We're still in COVID during this time. These are all goals that she's written down. And I'm really, really proud to say that all of these goals have happened, and we can talk about it after the clip. Let's pull it up.
Lene Robinson. I'm co-owner of Bliss Books and Wine. We are an independent bookstore for wine enthusiasts and, of course, book lovers. And we've been in business about 1.5 years now. Started it with my sister turned business partner, Lanisha Frazier. Initially, we were founded to provide a community gathering spot, people to come in, relax, have some wine, read a book, chat with friends. Then COVID hit. So now we have pivoted and we're operating solely online with the books, not so much with the wine part right now, but we are working with some of the local wineries around Kansas City to tie in that aspect of it. So we have some specials coming up on Friday for Cyber Friday and Merch Madness for Small Business Saturday and a couple of Cyber Monday sales. So yeah, we're really excited to get going and hopefully get our brick and mortar next year and have everyone in again.
And what's pretty exciting is right after that show, they made the Oprah's book list, which was awesome. Yes. And they actually have a brick and mortar down on the plaza now. down close to the plaza, kind of by that Chipotle, where people go in and enjoy wine and books, and they have blown up. So what's uncomfortable to talk about is in that same clip was Naeem, and Naeem was starting a nonprofit that was for prison reform out of prison. And unfortunately, he's found his way back into prison, and both of us got to see the back end of that. And it was very sad to see somebody you want to win so much not win, and to sometimes know that you can't help everybody. But I didn't want to take away from Bliss Books and Wine because they've done some amazing things. Also uncomfortable to talk about. We had one more amazing guest who unfortunately has passed away, but I wanted to highlight, I couldn't find the clip I wanted to highlight, so I did want to pull up Kim's picture. But Kim Yates was one of our favorite guests. If you ask me who was one of your favorite guests, she was on my, hopefully we can have her like badass in marketing. And she was on our show too, very early on. So we've had some insanely amazing guests. We've been very, very blessed. Out of our 700 guests, Scott, if I were to say to you, next week's the last week of the show and you can only have one person back on, but they will absolutely say yes to coming back on, who would you invite back on?
Aaron Fulk.
Not a good answer.
What came to my mind?
I'm your co-host. I'd already be here. Who would you have on if you could only?
I'm not helping your question, but I'd want to have you on. But if not, if it was the last show, I don't know. Who would you have on? And I can think of an answer.
Okay, let me ask you this. Who would be your dream guest out of anybody? You can say anyone in the world to have on this show.
Well, okay, now that I think about it a little bit more, I really, really am appreciative to Tom Collins and John Owen. And I know you really like them, and they've been really nice and kind to me and have influenced me in a lot of really good ways.
And who would be your dream guest?
It could have been Vince Vaughn until you told me a story about he's not. But I'd probably have my children.
Oh, okay. Well, they need to be a little older. So they're not going to.
Yeah, they wouldn't be good. They wouldn't be good. They would just, they'd be.
I think that they made some. One of them made the young one made a quick appearance.
The great thing about this show, Aaron, is we really get to have all of our best friends and all the people we admire on. You have Les Brown. Oh my God, I didn't know who he was until I listened to any motivational speech ever recorded, and everyone took from him. So, I mean, I don't know if we could have any better folks that have been on the show.
So I would say I'd still want to have Oprah.
Okay, where we're going. Yeah.
Funny you bring up Les Brown because I do think that was our major home run in the past 4 years. So we gotta get a new home run. If anybody knows anyone that can beat out this, I mean, he's got millions of followers online. I wanted to play a quick clip of when he was here. I kind of teared up when I was watching it, so I'm going to play it real quick for our last clip of the show.
Well, I want to just thank you for this opportunity to be with you and Scott, two individuals who are determined to lift people's spirits and help them to get an expanded vision of themselves of what's possible and how they can live their greatest life. I became interested in motivational speaking because I met a man named Mr. Leroy Washington, and I was in the 11th grade. When I was in the 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded and put back from the 5th grade into the 4th grade. So in school, they called me DT, the dumb twin. My brother Wesley was very smart. And I went in his class looking for someone. And he said, young man, go to the front of the room and work this problem out for me. And I said, sir, I can't do that. And he said, why not? I'm not one of your students. He said, do it anyhow. I said, I can't, sir. And then the other students started laughing. He's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley is smart. He's DT. And he asked, what's DT? He's the dumb twin. And when he said that, I said, I am, sir. I agreed. And he came from behind his desk. He looked at me. He said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you hear me? And it startled me. And what he did is that how we live our lives is a result of the story we believe about ourselves. That when you have this program, when you and Scott come together, speak and interview people, when I speak and the people that are listening, the coaches and the trainers, that we distract, dispute, and inspire. We distract people from their self-explanatory style, how they see themselves, what they bought from the world. we dismantle their current belief system and inspire them to become what Mother Teresa would say, a pencil in the hand of God, and start writing a new chapter with their lives. And so that's what he did with me. And I followed him, and he was a great communicator. He taught speech and drama, and he was an orator extraordinaire. And I wanted to be like him. I've never known my biological mother or father, so I took him on as my spiritual father. And he didn't know it, but I said, I want to be like him, and followed him. And then I started volunteering to speak. And they say a calling, and I believe this is my calling. A job is what you get paid for. A calling is what you are made for.
And that was incredible.
How we kept saying our names all the time. He knew you, but that's impressive.
With that, we are at our 30 minutes. So we had a lot of people watching our show today. So I wanted to say thank you for all of the support over the past 4 years. Thank you so much to Bestway International and all the other sponsors we've had over the years. Thank you, Scott, for co-hosting. And we are going to do this for the next 4 years. So we will see you guys same time, same place, right here next week. We'll see you later.